Welcome to the Adventures in Alchemy podcast, where we share tips, techniques, and true stories to support you in using the law of attraction and alchemy to create magic and live the life of your dreams. Here's your host, the founder of DailyAlchemy.com, Michelle Martin Dobbins.
Hi guys, Michelle Martin Dobbins from Daily Alchemy. And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about parenting alchemy. And so if you're not in that parenting mode, you may skip this, but actually there's a good reason to listen because I'm not going to give you so much a tip that's just for parents, but can be for anybody because I'm not a parenting expert and in fact far from it. And some of my kids are going through some stuff now, and it's really made me focus on how I parent and being a better parent. And, you know, I think we all just do the best we can, but we get caught into that trap of how can I be better? And there's one thing I think that we can all do that will help us be more effective parents or just friends, neighbors, relative, whatever, aunt, uncle. But especially in this parent-child relationship, I've talked before about vibration. So I'm just going to briefly go through, we all have a dominant vibration level. And a lot of people talk about, I think it's Christy Whitman does love or above, but there's a scale. And we have kind of like a set point, like with our weight, like we have a place where we spend most time at, and we can dip down and go up. We have that area that we spend the most time at emotionally, vibrationally, just like most people do with their weight. They may go up and down a little bit, but it takes some work to make a drastic change. And usually trying to do that overnight will cause you to crash and burn. And guess what? It's the same thing with trying to change your vibrational set point. Like if you just really, really overly, I shouldn't say overly, but if you really, really just like dive into getting really happy and being at the top of that scale when you've been at the lower end of fear and guilt, sometimes you can have kind of like in the unity movement, they call it chemicalization. It's kind of like where things go wonky for a while because you've shifted so far, so fast. So sometimes it's easier just to take it up a notch, take it up a step, take it up a notch, take it up a step. Anyway, I digress here. I'm talking about vibration and like, what does that have to do with parenting at all? Here's the thing. When you're a parent to a child and you are the biggest influence or one of the biggest until they get to those teenage years and start branching out more with friends. But I think even at least till they're 18, you're probably their biggest influence on their vibration, right? And I see so many parents, and I've been guilty of this myself, who want their children to be happy, want them to be confident, want them to be strong, want them to be deliberate creators of a life they love. But we don't do it for ourselves. And the sad thing is, that's what they're going to model after. They're going to match their vibration to our vibration in most cases. And so if we have a low self-esteem vibration, then they're going to have a low self-esteem vibration. If we have a low confidence, they're going to have low confidence. And so the thing is, for us to help our children, we have to work on ourselves. And, it kind of goes the same for, if you want to help relatives, if you want to help friends, if you want to help coworkers. Once again, raising your own vibration and putting that out there in the world is the best thing you can do. But for parents and children, it's just particularly strong. And to me, it's very interesting because this summer I went through a really down time and, I'm slowly building myself up, working really on focusing on getting healthier and stronger and more focused every day. And I'm doing great with that. My body's still a little bit slow to catch up, but it's doing better and better every day. But I have noticed that when I started having a lower vibration there for a time period, when my set point lowered, it affected my children. And it's kind of like still affecting my children because they started picking up on these things that I was doing. And even, before that, I've constantly tried to work on my own vibration, but I grew up with a lot of fear and anxiety and low self-esteem. So it's been something that I've worked on starting before I had children, when I started on my spiritual path in my 20s, and more as the years go by, because I more and more realize how important it is. When I started on a spiritual path, it was all about being good and kind and nice to everybody else, and not so much of being good and kind and nice to myself. And a lot of times I've realized that I've taught my children that same thing. Be good to everybody else you see, be kind to them, be nice to them, which is wonderful. And I wouldn't want to change that, but they also have to be good and kind and nice to themselves. That's so crucial. And, it's for kids and adults, it's that same thing. If we don't fill ourselves up, we don't have anything to give to anyone else. So if you don't fill yourself up, fill your cup, raise your own vibration, then you can't help your kids. And I know I've done it. I just see it so much. We ask children to be something that we can't be, or do something that we can't do. And if you want your children to have a better quality of life, more joy, more bliss, more happiness, I know it's hard, but you're going to have more bliss, more joy, more happiness. Yep, I know. But you can do it. So if you're struggling with parenting, my advice to you, and as I've said, I am not parent of the year. I am not a parenting expert. I have 2 things that I have achieved with my children that make me very proud. And one of those is that they all love to read, and they're all great readers, and they love books. That makes me happy because that was one of my goals for my kids. And the other is just that I feel like they feel safe, at least in our home, and even more outside in the world, to be their authentic self. And I've been praised by people for the fact that my kids seem very secure in being their own unique self. So I pat myself on the back for that. Those are 2 vibrations that I've role modeled. I guess I am a huge, huge book lover. So I'm glad that I was able to pass that on to my kids. And I've always wanted to express my uniqueness. And sometimes I spent time just trying to fit in junior high and high school, and even through my early 20s. And now I've grown to a point where I've decided that fitting in is just not fun. Being who I really am and just being true to myself, and not just going along with things that I don't believe in to make other people feel more comfortable. It feels better to me. And so I'm glad that my children are picking up on that. And, we can tell our children anything. You can tell them that they can be their own unique self. You can tell them that they should love themselves. You can tell them that they should treat themselves with respect and that they should have confidence in themselves. But if you don't have it, it just becomes words. So they model who we are, and they tap into our vibration. And sometimes people get to that point where they just try to go the opposite way of their parents, and sometimes that's a good thing. But if you're listening to this, I'm assuming that you're someone who is on that spiritual and personal growth path, and you want to make things better for yourself and for the world around you. And if you have children, that definitely is going to include them. So as I've just gone on this big convoluted thing, my advice to you is to take a breath when you get stressed out about your kids, and focus on raising your own vibration. I know I went through a time with my daughter, one of my daughters, that we just butted heads so much. And I had talked to a spiritual counselor who said, if you just relax and know that she's okay and she knows the right thing to do for her, then you wouldn't butt heads anymore. And lo and behold, this child and I very rarely butt heads, but I had to change, not her. I had to show that faith in her. And that's another thing that I have found, that kids know who they are and they don't really need us to tell them. In fact, most of the time we're telling them or modeling for them the wrong things. We're modeling trying to be someone they're not. We're modeling not having enough self-love to take care of ourselves, to spend time for ourselves, to be kind to ourselves. And even when you do that, to give to your children instead of yourself, you're hurting them. Because if you're just like, I'm not going to spend any money on myself and I'm just going to wear old ratty clothes and spend all this money on my kids, your kids pick up that vibration that, as a parent, you don't matter. Well, someday your kids are going to be parents. So that's not a vibration that you want to pass on. Do you want your kids, you kind of have to think through these things. Even like if you're in a marriage that is not modeling for your kids what you want for them, you may want to think long and hard about that. And I'm not saying that we put impossible standards on ourselves, but I have found that I have made the most changes in my children by making changes in myself. As I've grown and gotten more comfortable in my skin, gotten more happy with the life that I lead and creating it to be the way I want it to be, my children have been able to follow suit. And some of them are having issues right now with anxiety and fear. And so my first step was to look and see, where am I experiencing the same things in my life? Where am I having anxiety and fear? Where am I not being as confident as I could? Where could I support myself better in these same areas that I see my children struggling in? That's my first step. And then my second step is to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm working on this. Do you want to do it with me? And so that's what I'm doing. And it seems to be helping. We're all getting stronger and more confident over here in the Dobbins family. And I wish that for all of you who are parenting. And please do not take any of this message to mean that you're not good enough and that you need to be a better person or to be a better parent. But just to remember that you're worthy of love. And I don't want to beat you up if you're not loving yourself, but just give to yourself what you want your children to have. And then it's going to be so much easier for them to have it too, because they're already in that state. I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of times, like a wealthy family, the children, obviously they do have that start, but they're going to grow up and they're in most cases going to carry that wealth vibration. The opposite is often true too, where children who were born in poverty continue to do that, to carry that poverty vibration. And yes, there are some things, a wealthy child can get into a better school. The child who is poor doesn't have the same advantages, and sometimes that makes it stuck. But I do believe that the belief and expectation is a big part of that too. The wealthy family, they impart that vibration that it's easy to make money and that you're worthy of money and that, you have the skills and the talents and the abilities to create a job or a business and make that money. Whereas, in the poverty family, they're fed the messages in the story that they can't do it and that they shouldn't even try to do it. And this is just the way life is. So what stories are you telling yourself and what stories are you teaching your child? And those stories, when you tell them over and over, they become beliefs and they set up our dominant vibrations. So if you want to change it, you start by changing your stories and changing your actions. And you can change your family for generations, because the more you grow, the more your kids grow and your grandkids, it's just going to spiral outward. So don't think it's selfish to work on yourself, because when you work on yourself, it affects everyone around you and especially your children. So that is my soapbox for today. I'm going to jump down now, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this and any parenting alchemy tricks you have up your sleeve. Feel free to connect with me at dailyalchemy.com. From there, you can find the links to my Twitter, Facebook, email, YouTube, whatever your favorite social media hangout is. I would love to hear from you there. And so go out and create some magic today. Namaste and big hugs. Would you like some help creating more magic in your life? I've got a ton of freebies and goodies for you. They're all tucked away inside my magical freebie vault. You can get free access, though. You just have to go to www.dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault. Again, that's dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault. And when you get there, you can just plug in your name and email and you will get instant access to all kinds of goodies. There are daily and weekly manifesting planners, the How to Shift Your Vibe in 5 Minutes e-kit that has audios and a workbook. There are moon manifesting planners and daily love lists and money trackers and all kinds of goodies right there. I didn't want to make you have to go to a bunch of different pages and sites and wait for certain freebies to come out. So I just took all of my freebies and put them in one place where you could just sign up one time and download any of them that you want at any time that you needed. So you can just head on over to dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault and download them today. Have a magical day.
Thanks for listening to the Adventures in Alchemy podcast. Connect with me on thedailyalchemy.com or Facebook at facebook.com/Michelle Dobbins, author. Join us next time for even more magical life tips.